Social software and participatory learning, pedagogical choices with technology affordances in the Web 2.0 era, by Luisa María Hernández Garzón. Well, first of all, we gotta know what is Web 2.0. So, Web 2.0 is a brand new and more communicative form of the World Wide Web, centered on the sharing of information and social interaction. This web started the boom of different ways to communicate and sharing information, such as blogs, wikis, podcasting, social networks, and task-based taxonomies and peer-to-peer. So, what is social softwares? Well, social softwares are those Web 2.0 tools which support social interaction, like email, chat rooms, forums, etc. Nowadays, sharing information through Web 2.0 tools have become a must. These new trends have changed society forever. Every time we read some blog, log into a social network, make a comment, or use internet to express ourselves or read other people's thoughts, make us a part of this circle. So we can certainly say we are living in the Web 2.0 era. And that is something we can't avoid actually, because internet, it's all about social softwares. You can find them everywhere you get in when you're online. So yeah, we are finally on the Web 2.0 era. But what does it have to do with pedagogy? Well, it's well known that learning is a social cultural process, and the use of technology for learning purposes can become an accessible, productive, and motivating experience. The use of social softwares can increase the autonomy of the learner and collaborative learning. Dana Boyd in 2007 stated these three elements as the main characteristics of a learner-centered instruction: support for conversational interaction, support for social feedback, and support for social networks and relationships among people. And social softwares provide them all. So we're gonna get this through. So first of all, knowing that learning is a social cultural process, and those social softwares are all about social interaction. So it can be very useful for learning. And by the use of technology, which is an accessible, productive, and motivating way to learn. So if we meet all those characteristics from technology and the social cultural issue that comes to the social software use, well, we can create a really good way to learn, which is of course favorable for the pedagogy. And as Dana Boyd says, and it's a new perspective of pedagogy to make instruction always learner-centered, that it's needed to support conversational interaction, the social feedback, and social networks, since, as I said before, learning is a social cultural process. So the use of these social softwares can provide all the elements we need to form a learner-centered process, and the use of technology, which is a matter of interest among people nowadays, since, as I said before, is the Web 2.0 era. Now getting into context, this course is called Technologies of Teaching English as a Foreign Language. So I focused this topic on some language learning centered social softwares we can use, for example, and in this context, for English learning. So I showed these three. The first one is wordreference.com. I know it's actually a dictionary, but there is section from that web page that it's actually wider than you can expect, which is only forums. It's all about forums. So there are a lot of discussions you can look up, and the main point of those discussions, the main subject of those discussions, are always grammatical uses, new grammatical things we can learn from that. Which expressions sounds better on English, and yeah, that kind of stuff. And it's always made by the community itself. It's not something provided by an official statement or something like that. It's always made it by the community itself. It's the community who asks, someone from the community who asks, and someone from the community who answers. Also, we have English language and usage, which is similar to the word reference system I talked about, but it's different since it's only related to grammar. The word reference forums can engage a wider amount of subjects. English language and usage is more grammar centered, but you can find more grammar content that you can find in word reference. And the last one that I know that it's not a language learning centered social software, but it can be very useful is YouTube. Because, well, YouTube is social, it's a social software indeed, and you can find a lot of videos about English, people teaching you English in different ways. There are a lot of methods you can find in those videos. But actually, if you look at the comment section, you can find something similar to what you can see on word reference or on English language usage, which is a conversation, a pretty wide conversation about different subjects, about grammatical uses and grammatical usages from those for different kind of expressions. Which of those expressions sounds better in a certain context, and that kind of stuff is something you can find on YouTube. So it can be very useful. Extending paradigms of tertiary teaching and learning. Well, as I said before, Web 2.0 is a brand new perspective. We're in the boom of social networks, and this is pretty new. It's something that 10 years before we didn't see. So it gives us a different perspective of different paradigms. So that's what we're going to see. That's what we're going to see. First of all, we got personal living environment, also known as PLE. It's not considered as an approach nor an application that supports communication, identity, and community development. For example, when the learner chooses the social software tool that fits him the best. Well, there is something curious about these social softwares, because even though it's about communities, there's a great respect for individuality. So, the personal living environment, it's when the learner chooses which kind of social software he's about to use. As I said before, it's individuality, it's autonomy, the main point of these new methods. So when the learner is about to choose which social network fits his needs, fits his preference, we are talking about learner-centered instruction, we're talking about autonomy, and it's like the idea from the methods that look the learner to be the main character of his own learning process. Next, it says it's not traditional models adapted to an online environment, which is something it can often be seen in the use of technology and teaching, since technology and teaching is not a new thing. So sometimes it can be like that, just traditional models adapted to an online environment, which is the same but just using your computer or something like that. They are actual learner-centered methods based on collaborative and social communication. As I said before, the knowledge is built from the communication. And And then it says the learner is the main character of his own learning process. There is total autonomy for learner's preference, needs, and time and learning rhythm. I talked about that before. Conclusion. Social softwares offer a completely new learning perspective. When the knowledge content comes from the connection among individuals, ideas, and communities and networks. Pedagogy 2.0. It's the main subject of pedagogy. It's what it's about. Where learning is built by sharing and receiving information and feedbacks, which comes to a deep reflection that becomes in learning. Well, Pedagogy 2.0 is the pedagogy based on the Web 2.0 technologies, and it's when the individuals which have ideas belongs to a community, and there is the social sharing among all those individuals with their own ideas. That's when the knowledge content is built. And that conversation, that social interaction that it's made throughout those softwares are becoming a deep reflection. It's not something shallow. It's something that can be very, very deep and keeps on the individual's mind, and then it becomes a learning. Thank you.